Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are looking at the Batman cover art book that I got as part of the subscription with this kind of like Batman subscription for comics I get. I don't know the name of it, sadly, off the top of my head, but this was like an extra reward, and it gives you a look at covers from 1939 right through to 2017. And I thought this would be perfect for us to go through on this channel because it's something that it's great to look at. I feel like when I've done other videos where I went through like one of the big comic collections I've had in the past, like the compendiums almost, I've really enjoyed talking about the cover art. So I thought that'd be cool for you guys. Also, I think I've got a little bit of cold, not a crazy amount. So I'm sorry if I'm a little bit like more breathy or nasally than usual. But yeah, so here we have what I can only assume. Starting this issue, the amazing and unique adventures of the Batman. So there's his first ever cover. And what I find interesting straight away is, and it's not really used much now, but the way the ears, if you want to call them that, wingtips, however you want to call them, on his cowl were a lot more, almost, they look a lot more like floppy ears. Do you know what I mean? Like over time they become like points, they become like sharp points, and they'll be exaggerated and they'll be shortened, and they'll sometimes maybe not even really exist. There's a lot of a joke about that if you remove the points on the helmet, he just becomes man, which I think is quite funny. I actually really love this one. What's interesting is that you can clearly see, at least in my head, they weren't quite 100% sure what they were wanting to push Batman down here, because this has got like the bright yellow daylight and Batman's doing his thing, but like it doesn't give that vibe that you get from Batman now of like dark and brooding, like his suit does to a degree, but not necessarily like the setting. And it's not grandiose at all, which I always find interesting because Batman does deal with all criminals, right? It's not just the clinically insane from Arkham Asylum and stuff like that. So like it's interesting to see this. And then you go to the other side, and this sets Batman up straight away as someone who is somewhat mysterious, and it kind of almost leans into like a vampire-esque trope here. You know, the castle on the hill, the kind of someone stealing a woman away, the moon, and then obviously Batman draped not dissimilarly to how Dracula might be portrayed. So that's a really interesting one as well. Then we have Robin. I'm assuming this is his first time being brought to page. Now, whilst this one's cute in its way and like he's sort of breaking out, I actually like this one way more. And what I think Robin really does, you can see across both of these, is adds whimsy to Batman in a way that Batman himself can't. Because them two as a duo is far less brooding, right? It feels like if you've got Batman on his own, the brooding is like way up here. If you've got Robin, it kind of comes down to here because it's like the boy wonder, right? So there's a little bit more wonder, there's a little bit more whimsy. I'm not saying Batman can't do that on his own, and there's definitely points where Batman has been humor-filled or kind of silly on his own. But like, I think that's why this works, because Robin brings out a little bit more of Batman's inner child, because he probably sees a lot of himself in Robin. But I love this. And I love the little silhouetting of the city in the background there, because Gotham is a city, but it's also a character. And again, similar thing here. And even more so here, because you have Superman getting involved there as well. Really like that they're looking on themselves, then in on themselves, then in on themselves. Little weird that there's no eyes. I do like that silhouette for the bat. Don't love his face on the silhouette of the bat. Oh, that's a cool one. I love when artists play with the page to the point that it becomes something else entirely almost. And like some of these ones specifically are reminding me of like the Batman TV show. Because this is really the era that they pulled from comics wise, because that was really all that was there at that time. But I love the whimsy of these and just the silliness, like what the hell have they got themselves caught in there, because it just looks like yarn. So that's an interesting one there as well. You have the Rainbow Batman. Again, this whimsy comes in and it's a little cute, it's a little silly. But Batman, last night you wore the green costume and tonight you're wearing the red. Why? I must, Robin. I must wear a different colour Batman costume each night. And just no explanation. I love that. I do wonder why they're calling it red when it's undoubtedly pink. But fair play. And then we go to something a little bit more. You have this very cute page there. And then we go to like the death of Robin, which is very different. I actually really like that though, the sun setting. I have to assume, on this alien world, I was going to assume it was something to do with Poison Ivy, but they're on an alien world apparently. That's the thing with Batman as well, is that because he ties in with Justice League, he's put into situations that he might never be in any, like typically wouldn't have been on his own. And I really enjoy Batman in those situations, because I think what Batman, and this is what I'm hoping they kind of manage to do with the Superman Batman team up whenever that happens in the new DCU. Batman is a very grounded character in reality, right? Yeah, he has some whimsical heroes, but he's relatively grounded. And that's why I think the movies where he's on his own have always kind of gone down the grounded route relatively. But when he teams up with other people and gets to fight these larger-than-life characters or gods, or he's just as powerful or just as able because of his wit, his logic, his detective skills. And I think that's always so interesting to see play out. You see here a little bit of the purple Batman vibe there. Now, he's gone through a little bit of a purple and blue phase, as you can see here. Here's a blue one. I actually don't mind it when they add a little bit of colour to him. I kind of really enjoy the blue, and I wish the blue was used more in more media. But I think everyone has their preference. I don't know if I love the purple, but I do like the blue. And even when it's just got a little bit more grey on the suit as well, I like that too. We've got a very similar one there to the one we had before. Looks like it's almost been redone. But it's getting very... Is it silly to say? I'm sort of getting... Like, I saw the dogs and I thought of the Hound of the Baskervilles. Don't know why. And then there's Man-Bat one here as well, as well. Which, Man-Bat's a very interesting thing to have against Batman. The kind of reversal, almost the horror of it, or what Batman could become, in a way. Or not become, but like how things could have went for like people in general. Because if you learn about Man-Bat. Anyone who's played the Arkham games will know. It's this guy who's trying to cure things. It's not dissimilar to Lizard for Spider-Man. And ends up becoming this creature. And yeah, he is one that really shows Batman's sort of ability to bemuse and distract. Obviously, his cowl here. And then you have him actually jumping the guys behind. Very tactical person in nature. Not in nature, like in his nature. So love that. And here we've got one in the desert, and that's with Ra's al Ghul. Yeah, I think that one's quite interesting. What I always find it fascinating, this one is sort of quintessentially like the Gotham aesthetic, and then you have Batman in the desert. I think again it's always interesting when Batman leaves Gotham because he's so dedicated to Gotham, and then you see him leaving to fight these worldly villains, and I think that's always quite interesting. The large Joker kind of having a grip over Gotham, and then the card that Batman's on there. I love that. The blue is really nice there. Makes Joker stand out a lot. Then this one, you've got Grave to Bruce, you've got Batman, and you've got Hugo Strange. So that one tells a lot about, like, I would be interested in what's going on there, because you have like, what is he had to fake his death, and is Hugo Strange, like the title says, strange apparitions? Is Hugo Strange actually there, or is Batman hallucinating him, or is he being watched, or This one's called The Last Batman Story, and I find this hilarious because we're nowhere near through the book, and more to the point, we know that his story didn't end. We know that no superhero story really ends, so that's really interesting to see. I think the one thing there is I feel like the cowl's a little bit janky, but other than that, I don't love that Robin suit either. That is a great cover. I wonder why there's no barcode or whatever here, but seeing Joker and Batman fight is always an interesting one, because you always wonder how physical that fight is versus how mental that fight is. That I love silhouetting. That's The Dark Knight Returns, and then The Dark Knight Falls, and those are both great, just like almost movie poster-esque. Then we have Batman draped across the statue on his mother and father's grave. And that's actually I don't think Batman would actually do this, but the visuals, and especially right next to this one, the visuals are great because it shows how intertwined his life and his choices have been, especially because he's like grasping it in such a way. The way his life has been between the two, between this moment and the choices he makes as Batman. And to do it against an angel is even more interesting, because Batman is no angel. He's almost the opposite. It's not dissimilar to like a Daredevil idea of things there. Then you have a death in the family, which is interesting that they've kind of very much used the same motif as the other Robin death, but left the background so stark. It feels like the hope has fallen out of Gotham in that one. And then, funnily enough, right next to it, you've got one where someone's just working on a car or stealing from a car or whatever. I've got to say, I love when they mess with the cloak. This is two great examples here. And I love when they kind of make Batman look almost like the cloak is taking, like, is the whole thing. I love that. And everyone knows what I mean, I hope. When they have his cloak actually hit the floor and surround him, and like they'll use that at some point times to kind of like make him disappear or appear, and when he like stands up or whatever, the cloak comes with him, and it's still draped around him, but it's like this, like he's coming out of shadow. I love that vibe. I think we'll flick through some more quickly here. Those are some, like, I love how both these are very dark. Like, they invoke darkness, but this is, like, still quite bright. This is obviously a lot more, you know, detailed, but also a lot more, like, visceral. Is that the right word? Maybe not, but you know what I mean. And then we have sort of a very romantic view of Gotham there. Obviously, Gotham by Gaslight. I really like that. And a very sort of, I don't want to say caricature because it's not that far, but like sort of that vibe of Joker there. Then we've got the Batman moving over the city. This is probably the most intensive version of the city we've got yet, and that really sells Gotham to me. Gotham's got a lot of like this window architecture in it, gargoyles, you know, and then this iconic Bane breaks Batman's back cover there. That one, the way they've used the title is really cool. And but like, what's happening here? What's all the blood? And then black and white, that is stunning. Like the fact that you can so easily silhouette Batman is crazy because he's a character that has very little color, but like it's perfect, right? I don't always love super hyper realistic stuff like this, so that's not my favorite. But then you've got right next to it one where Batman's almost in more of like it reminds me of what Bucky from Marvel wears at points, like that kind of like army look. I could be wrong now I'm describing that, but it's kind of got that look about it to me. And then you're coming more into the well-known Batman suit here. I think I love seeing him as part of the Trinity. That one's really cool, having Robin imposed on Batman this time and showing the death of a Robin, kind of overtaking, overshadowing Batman. Joker, of course, they really do like to over exaggerate his smile and his like his jaw. Works. Those two, I don't think there's anything crazy to say about those two for me. They're not dissimilar to stuff we've seen before. Again, sort of hyper realistic, not my favorite. Like this one, Gotham burning around Batman. He's got more of this cowled look here, and he looks resolved despite the burning of the buildings. That's an interesting one. I really like that, actually. That one's sort of, again, hyper-realistic, which is interesting because you've got Zatanna there, which you think sort of brings it back the other way, but they've got sort of gone hyper-realistic still. This one I love. It feels like an expose on Batman in a way there. Then you've got, this one's like ripping Batman down the middle by Bruce Wayne in the center. That one's quite cool. Let's quickly go through and see if any others jump out drastically at this point. Oh wow, that is cool. That so quickly depicts that you've got Joker, who is obsessed with Batman, and all he sees is the bat. That's a really cool image. I've not seen most of these before, actually, which I think is really interesting. I always like it when you put Batman with someone else, because you get this so much different. And then you've got it's quite funny, the dichotomy here. You've got something that's very gruesome. He's had his jaw sewn up, his face sewn up. And then you've got right next to it these silly characters right next to Batman. Because Batman ultimately is made to be serious by the setting and the character the characterization, right? he's not, like, if you were to look at his costume or the characters he surrounds himself with, he's sort of silly. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think, like, really, if you were to look at that outfit, it's not dissimilar to the Superman suggestion that Superman's outfit is really silly, actually. Batman isn't that much different. There we have Batman and Catwoman fighting while sort of having this intimate moment at the same time atop the bat signal. That's a really cool representation of how Batman might be two-faced in a way, because he is. This is the interesting thing about Batman and his villains. They're not dissimilar from each other in a number of ways. But yeah, these are actually really cool. Oh, I like the use of the Robin colours. Yeah. I like that Batman is sort of the silhouette of their lives. Like, sort of like he's influencing them even though he's not really there in this panel. He's part of everything they do. Yeah, there's a lot of great Batman art. Love the colouring on this, bringing back that purple a little bit. Now, that's not a bad use of the purple, actually. I quite like that. Batman sort of as Gotham, in a way. But then you've got, like, Joker really leaning into that. That's quite cool. You've got their Batwoman, along with Batman. And I love the purple versus the red. There. Red's a great colour to use against Batman because he's so stark himself. There's one where you've got the Watchmen sort of coming into things there, which is really cool. And that's it. That was a really cool book to look through, actually. It's one where, for me, I don't necessarily... I pay attention to this stuff, of course, whenever I read a comic, but I don't necessarily sit down and look at cover art that often, so it's nice to kind of do that. Let me read this blurb to kind of round us out. This is the creator of the series, by the way, the subscription Fan Home. So if you want to look up the collection, you can do it there. Since Batman made his debut in 1939, he has become one of the most iconic and instantly recognizable characters in the world, which is what I said just before. In the decades that have followed, he has graced the covers of thousands of comics. This book presents 100 of the best from Batman's earliest appearances to the 21st century. Reducing the selection to 100 covers inevitably involves compromise and sometimes arbitrary judgments. There are bound to be famous and much loved images that have been excluded. This selection features some of the greatest artists who have ever drawn Batman, including Batman's creator, Bob Kane, Neil Adams, Frank Miller, Jim Lee, Jock, and current superstar Greg Capullo. Sorry, I'm like far too far away from this to be reading this, but here we are. The covers between the pages show the changing faces of Batman, from his pulp origins in Detective Comics to the much brighter and more positive hero that dominated the 1940s and 50s, before the late 1960s saw a darker, more brooding version of Batman that persists to this day. Again, kind of what I was implying throughout. These covers also show the changing ambitions of comics, which once concentrated on bright, colourful, and arresting images, but are now pushing the boundaries of graphic design. Like Batman himself, the covers inside are extraordinary and ambitious, and the art consistently evolves as it reinterprets the Dark Knight for a new age. But yeah, so that's sort of this video for Merman Mythos. I hope you guys enjoyed. I definitely did. And yeah, I always love doing a little video like this. I feel like I've been all over with my whispering versus soft spoken in this one, but sometimes I think it's nice to have the disparity. So if you guys enjoyed, let me know, and we can do more like this. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great sleep, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.